Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Sam.
And we're Envy Board Gaming. And today we're going to take a look at Kabuto Sumo by BoardGameTables.com, designed by Tony Miller and art by Kwanchai Moriah. Sorry about that. I really like the art in the game, by the way.
Yeah.
But this game, players are going to be competing in a wrestling tournament of bugs. Insect World Wrestling Federation.
Who would have thought?
I can't remember the name of the wrestling thing. But you're literally competing on a log. So let's go see how it's played, and we'll come back and give you guys our final thoughts. All right, Kabuto Sumo. So as you can see, I have already set up a two-player game of this. And what's nice is that this is going to change based on the number of players. So in the rule book, and I really like this about the rule book, is that it has these nice little visuals based on the number of players on how to set the game up. So if you're playing a two-player game like I have set up here, then it's going to look like this. If you're playing a three-player game, it's going to look like that. And if you have a four-player game where you're going to be working on teams or playing on teams, it's going to look like this, okay? And also, depending on the number of players, each player is going to get a starting set of wooden discs in their inventory to start the game, okay? But before we get started, let me explain also the really interesting part about this game that I like is that there are essentially two different versions that you can play, okay? Now you have the gamer version of the insects, which is going to give every single insect that you're going to be picking from a little special ability and ways to use them. Okay, now I do have the All-Star expansion cards here as well that I got in the Kickstarter that I'm going to go over just in case you want to see them and what's involved and what's included, but the blue ones are going to be in the base game. So the game is going to come with these cards that tell you about your special abilities and how to use them. But what's nice is that if you have younger gamers, the game comes with a set of Junior League cards. So each of these, they still get to use the special little token that comes for each of the insects, and they'll show you the different inventory that the insects will start with for the game. So if you're playing with somebody that's younger, that maybe those special abilities are a little bit difficult for them to understand or remember, you could still use the special tokens, and they'll each have their own little special kind of setup to make them still different, right? And again, the green ones are from the expansion. So as you can see, no special abilities, just that they get their little special token, and that, they have different setups that way. Okay, but let's set these up to the side since we're just going to be talking about primarily the gamer version, I guess I could call it, or the base game. Okay, and each player is going to choose one of these insects to play as. And honestly, I really enjoy looking at all these. Just the artwork and everything is really nice. Which I guess I'll save those kinds of comments for when we do the review. But looking at these, each of them are going to give you a little special ability, which is going to come in the form of your little player token. So if you have here, like Mighty Jaw Mike, you're going to have this giant pincer piece, okay? And each card is going to explain how they're used in the game, okay? So I'll come back to these towards the end. I want to talk about how we actually play. So once you pick the insect that you're going to be using, you're going to be taking turns sliding your discs out on the board, okay? So you will take this and you are going to put it up against the side, and then you will push your disc out. Now, how do you push it out? Because this is something that actually came up recently, even in the Kickstarter, and when this all came out, like how would they recommend you go ahead and pushing your disc onto the board? So let me readjust this a little bit, and I will try to show you what are the acceptable ways to push the disc out onto the board, okay? So what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking this disc, and there are three ways, but there's really two ways to push the disc out, okay? You're going to put your finger towards the back of the piece, and you will push in a straight line onto the board, like that. Once it's on the board, you stop, okay? Any pieces that fall off, let me reach around here to grab some of these. These then join your inventory. So you'll add these to your pile of discs that you already have, and you will keep them, okay? So that was the first way to push, just putting your finger on the back and sliding forward. Another way to push the disc is going to be what they call the pinching. So you're gonna put your finger on top and then your thumb on the back and push forward, again in a straight line. Any that you push off will then join your inventory, okay? And then they do have a third way to push, which is kind of a combination of the other two, okay? So you start with the pinch, but then as you go, you move your thumb and you push. Again, same thing, right? The idea is that you're pushing in a straight line, so you have to push in a straight line. You can't be, sliding all over the place trying to get what you want. It's a straight line push in, okay? And then you stop once it's all the way onto the board, right? So like that. It's on the board, stop, okay? Pretty simple. Sometimes I would not recommend, I would say when I first started this game, I tried pushing it like this because I didn't want to, feel like I was pushing it too far. But I feel like you have a little less control of how it's gonna go. So I always just push it with like my finger on top. But whichever way works best for you, those are the recommended ways to push, either the finger on top or the pinching, okay? So after you're pushing, you're gonna be taking turns going back and forth. And the way you're gonna end the game is you will either win by knocking your opponent off the board, or if at any time you run out of discs or pieces to push onto the board, you will also lose, okay? So if your opponent runs out, you'll win, because when it comes to their turn, they have no pieces to push onto the board. They essentially have to forfeit because they have no more pieces, okay? So either knock your opponent out or they run out of pieces, you win, all right? Now, let's get back to these insect cards, because I think we'll go a little bit over. I'm doing the teach a little different because this is a pretty simple game, pretty easy. You're just pushing discs on. I always think of those little coin games if you ever go to like an arcade where you drop the coin in and you're trying to knock the stack of quarters or whatever is there. It's that kind of game. It's a fun, quick little game, okay? But where you're gonna get a lot of replayability is also going to be with these insect cards, okay? So as you're going through, you're gonna see how to use these different ones. So for instance, if we look at Mighty Jaw Mike, in order to get his little pincer piece, okay, because you do not start with these, you have to earn them, okay? So for instance, in this one, Mighty Jaw Mike would have to pay 3 green wooden discs in order to gain this. And whenever you see pay, you are going to give these wooden discs to your opponent, okay? So they will add that to their inventory, all right? Then what you're going to do on your turn, and you can do each of these once per turn, okay? So the rules are specific. You can use each of your special signature moves once per turn, okay? So then you can pay 1, and this is my only thing. I always have to double check and make sure I do this right, because if you look at the card, sometimes it can be a little difficult. This is a large, this is a medium, okay? So looking at this, you have to pay a medium, and I always have to double check that. And I'll talk more about that later. That's probably my only negative in this game. But anyway, you're gonna pay 1 medium to your opponent, okay? And if any part of this piece, is inside and touching this little pincer piece, all right, you'll immediately knock that piece out and all the pieces that are stacked on it. All standard discs are knocked out this way to your inventory, okay? So you're gonna add all standard discs that you knock out using this little ability to your inventory. So this is a great way for you to get additional wooden discs into your inventory, okay? And each of them are gonna do this, okay? Now, this one I want to talk about as well, because it's going to talk about stacking pieces, okay? So I'm not going to try to pronounce the name, I'm just going to say the rhinoceros beetle, right? You have the ability here, at the end of your turn, you can stack a green disc from your inventory onto your wrestler piece. So I could take this piece if I was the rhinoceros beetle, and I could stick it on top of him, okay? And then later, for my turn, okay, because some of these special signature moves will replace your turn entirely, okay? So you will remove all the pieces. So I could, over number of turns, stack multiple pieces on top of my insect, okay? And then I can use this special signature move to where I can remove one or more of the pieces that are stacked on top of my piece. I would gain my special little player piece here, okay? I would remove all those pieces, and then I would push them one at a time. So I would, in this case, I could take off all three of these, and then gain this, and then one at a time, I can push them onto the board. So I could press this first, then push this green one, then push another green one, and then push another green one. So you could push multiples at a time, okay? And if you ever see the word stack on these insect cards, right, you're always going to stack them out. Sometimes it can be a little confusing where people think that they are going to stack them here and then push them all at the same time, which is not the case. So if you ever see stack, you're going to be placing them out. And they'll tell you if it is a wrestler piece or if you have to stack them on a non-wrestler piece, okay? So if you ever see the word stack, that's what that means. If you ever see the word pay, you're going to be giving those pieces to your opponent. Sometimes it will say discard, which means that you're just going to be removing those pieces from your inventory, and then you'll put them in the supply because there will be some discs that you won't be using, obviously. Okay? If it ever says knockout, okay? So some of these are going to say things like knockout. Let me see. I know there's one that I've played with for sure. Right? So let's look at, this is one of the expansion, the Jewel Wasp. Okay, so when the little jewel piece that you get is knocked out, you will immediately take a bonus turn, okay? And in this one, you will get to use an opponent's piece from their inventory to perform, and you can even perform their signature moves, which I think is really cool and thematic. If you don't know about the Jewel Wasp, I would say go check it out. On your own, because that makes sense. Okay, so if something gets knocked out, it means that when the piece falls off the board. Okay, if it ever says touching, that's pretty self-explanatory. It just means that the piece is physically in contact with another piece. Okay, and if it says gain, you're going to take the listed piece in the supply and add it to your inventory. Okay, so if you say gain, you're not taking it from here, you're going to be gaining it from the supply that is off screen. All right, and again, you can win by knocking off your opponent, but also be careful because you can lose by pushing. Well, I thought that'd be a little bit more thematic and knock myself off, but I could essentially knock myself off and lose. Poor example. Obviously, I didn't stop when I was supposed to get onto the board, but that's how you're going to play Kabuto Sumo. You're going to have all these different bugs to choose from, each of them with their own special signature move. Even multiple signature moves, as you've seen from the ones we talked about. And it's just a quick little game, 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on who's playing. But yeah, and that is how you play Kabuto Sumo. All right, so that's how you play Kabuto Sumo. Again, it's a 2-4 player game, plays 15, 20 minutes. Pretty quick little game. Pretty easy to play. Yeah. So let's just jump right into it. Talk about our positives. What did you like? What did you love about it? What did you like about it?
Okay, I'm one for, theme of a game, and I feel like it's ridiculous. Like, the theme is ridiculous. Like, sumo wrestling bugs. Like, who would have thought? But I love when people come up with these crazy ideas for games that are so unique.
I mean, look, there's bugs. Yes. There's a ring.
I mean, I think that part is so fun. I love that it's like a fun game. I like that there are the different bugs that you can choose, and they all have their own little powers and stuff. Right. I think and there's so many to choose from. So many.
Well, and we do have the Kickstarter. We got it on Kickstarter, and I got the All-Star Bug expansion. So it does have extra bugs that don't come in the base game, but I would say get the expansion. Yeah, if definitely. You can, get the expansion.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's funny. Like, I think it's a fun game. You know, pushing your little pieces to try to knock your sumo bugs off, and I feel like it's such like a back and forth. Like, it's such a exciting, you know, game. I think it's very simple. Right. It's very simple. It's just a fun game that you can pull out, and I think I like the little blocks. I feel like the pieces are very nice, like all the wooden pieces. Nothing seems like cheap to me.
Right, it's very sturdy.
Very nice pieces.
Make sure you glue they do say they recommend that you glue like the stage. I would say definitely glue it together. You know, I glued it right away, but it's very sturdy, very good. I really like it.
And I like that, you know, and then different bugs have different pieces too that you're going to be using to push. So it's interesting. Right. I just feel like there's so many different aspects of like how the game is played. It's so simple, but it's like the you know, different people have different powers based on their bugs. So I like that it also can be played with kids.
Yeah, the junior league cards.
Yes, I feel like it is a fun game for kids.
Our 4-year-old loves it.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, okay, from a perspective of like teaching them things, you know, that's helping like their fine motor skills too. You know, like having to push things. If you have smaller kids that, you know, they're learning how to grip things and push things, and it's like they have to be patient and calm when they're doing it. And I feel like you have a kid that's like, they need a game that it's gonna help them focus. Like, that is the game, because they can only push it so far and then they have to stop. And so it's like,
you're gonna try to take this game for your therapy sessions with the kids.
I know. I feel like it would be a really good idea. I feel like the kids I work with would love it. I mean, obviously it's our game. I can't take it to work, but it is one of those that I would recommend for teachers, for people that work with kids, for other therapists.
Pieces, you could clean them.
Yes, you can disinfect them. That's very important nowadays. So you have to, you know, make sure you have games that you can disinfect. But I love it. Like, I think it's funny. Like, it's a funny game.
Right. I really like it. This is a really good game. It's quick to set up. I think you'll see if a game is quick to set up, it automatically gets brownie points. Yeah. It's quick to set up. The theme is so great, and I like the art. I can't pronounce the artist's name, but I really like the art. And it really makes me feel like I'm in a ring on your bugs fighting over this log in a wrestling match. The pieces are chunky, like component-wise, a really great job by BoardGameTables.com. Like, they did a great job production-wise. I love it. Is educational. Our 4-year-old son, terrified of bugs, but fascinated by bugs, wants to watch videos, wants to talk about the ones he sees on the sidewalks, and in this game, he loves it. And to be honest, it's so educational. We got to the point to where we were looking up videos of these bugs.
Right, because you're like, is this a real bug?
The jewel boss, I never knew was a thing. And I looked it up.
That is a murder bug.
And I love that bug. And I love it. But and I feel like from the ones we played, I think there's not really, in my experience, I didn't find like, oh, this bug is overpowered. Like this bug always wins. I feel like there were bugs where I was like, oh, this one's definitely gonna win, and then I lost. And I was like, this one's definitely gonna lose, and then I would win, and I'd be like, I like the strategy of, you know, ooh, I want to get my special power, but I have to pay my opponent with these other like pieces. But I don't want to run out of pieces, but I want my special ability. I want my signature moves. So I like that there is that difficult decision on the gamer side of like, oh, how do I do this? And half the time I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna push this. This is gonna work out perfect. And like the pieces move, and it's like it doesn't matter. Like it's just gonna be, you know.
It's not always what you think is gonna happen either. I mean, you're pushing it on there, and you're like, oh, I'm gonna for sure knock you off. But then that doesn't happen.
I've played games where I've accidentally knocked myself off, and I'm like, and so apparently I'm not very good with dexterity. But anyway. But anyway, it's a really good game. Like I really like the game. This is another great game I think that you can teach to people that aren't gamers, that are new to the hobby.
Yeah,
definitely. But I'm not bored playing it because the games are so quick. They're so quick, 15, 20 minutes. I mean, you win, you either knock them off, or you lose if you get knocked off, or if you run out of pieces. Super quick, simple, easy. The rule book is really, really simple. You know, easy to understand. Not a whole lot to really question as you're going through it, but it's just such a fun theme, and it's such a good quality of production. Such a fun game. So many laughs. I like it. I really do. I don't have, honestly, on the negative side of this one, I don't really have any negatives. In all honesty, I tried to think about it. You know, maybe it's one that, after you play it enough, maybe you'll get bored of it if you're more into those heavier games. But this is a game where I think it's more geared towards that family weight game. It's got the art that I think is inviting to even be able to play with kids. You have the junior league cards, play with your kids. It's a great game. You know,
if they won't sit still, like this is the game for them, because I guarantee you, they will sit still for it because they have to. Like they have to be patient, or they'll just lose real fast. So I mean, maybe not play it if they're all over the place. You know, they might not be able to sit still. But I feel like the amount of focus it takes, you know, especially for kids, is like great. It helps them really like hone in on that. And the educational part, like you're learning about different bugs.
I like that part. I really do.
And the powers that they give, they go with what type of bug.
They're very thematic. The jewel wasp. Go watch a video of the jewel wasp. It's super cool.
Yeah, it might traumatize you too, though.
anyway, let's get to our final ratings. What do you think? What would you rate this?
I would rate it. This is kind of hard for me. I would rate it like a 7.5.
7.5?
Yeah.
Okay. I think for me, I put this at a 7.5 as well. This is falls in that family weight game. It's great for younger kids. I love games that are good that have the way to play with, you know, maybe younger. I think it's because we have a child.
Right.
But I think that's why it's like, I like that I can play this with him. I like this that I can play with our friends who don't play games or that do play games. Because
if you have people that they're not really gamers, I mean, you're going to need lighter games. And this is definitely one of those games that if you're just hanging out with like another couple, like we did the other night, and we're just like, oh, we just want a fun, fast game to play. This is something fun that, you know, gets everybody like engaged.
And we're actually going to go hang out with them again today, and they want to play this. So that's what we're going to play.
Yeah.
And we're all adults, no kids.
Yes.
So I'm just saying. But yeah, so 7.5 from us.
Yeah.
Great family weight game. Really great fun theme. Just have fun with it. It's a great dexterity game, you know, something you pull out, simple and easy. So yeah, buy board game tables. Also, little side note, I'm going to be helping teach this game at GenCon. So come play this game with me. I would love to, you know, get to hang out with some people, play this game. Kabuto Sumo. So go check out their booth at GenCon. I will be there on Thursday. So the first day of GenCon from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I'd love to teach you guys how to play the game and just hang out and have a good time. They're going to have a number of games that we'll be able to teach. So come check out the booth. Come say hi. Would love to meet some people. And yeah, thanks for watching. We ask that you guys Like, comment, subscribe, click the little bell icon so you get a notification every single time we post a video. And yeah, go check out Kabuto Sumo.
You won't regret it.
You won't regret it. Have a great one.
Bye.